When we think about theological rationalism, we have to understand that in the ancient Greek society, there was no possibility to intend the good God. In fact, in particular, there were a lot of gods. Therefore, there were, for example, Poseidon, the god of the sea, the god of the ocean, Zeus, the god of the sky, Hades, the god of the underworld, and their sons. Therefore, we cannot speak about a different type. We cannot speak about the main God that is present and create the world, but this creation is eternal. Therefore, there is a God that is moral and produce something, and this something is the consequence of God, because in this God is immortal but also eternal. No, in the ancient Greek society and in the creed of the ancient Greek society, the god of Olympus, for example, derived for their, for example, fathers and mothers. Kronos, the father of Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. And this is really interesting. In fact, if we think about the religion of the ancient Greece, the polytheism in general, we understand that the god of Olympus are not eternal, but are immortal. In fact, Hesiodus, for example, in his Theogony, explains that at the beginning there was chaos. Therefore, when we think about chaos, we think about a system that couldn't be a system. In fact, we cannot think about anything when we think about chaos. In fact, when there is chaos, there is no order. But when there is no order, there is no philosophy. And when there is no philosophy, there is no argument. This is really interesting. In fact, if we think, for example, at the relationship between the Middle Age, for example, or the beginning of the Christianity in Europe with Constantine, the emperor of the Roman Empire, and therefore the distinction and the relationship between monotheism and polytheism, we understand that with the monotheism there is a specific type of true of better. There is a theological rationalism. In fact, people wants to comprehend how to arrive near God with their studies, for example, with the sins of the world that God explains with his presence, and everything, yeah, is part of a God. God is in the nature, obviously, but at the same time, the part of the nature is in relation with God. Therefore, God is transcendent, is a metaphysical way, is a metaphysical part who cause everything. When we think about polytheism, we think about gods that fight between them. Zeus, who fight, for example, with Prometheus. Prometheus, it wasn't a god, it was a titan. But, for example, Hera that fought against his son Hephaestus, and Zeus, who asked to Hephaestus to free Hera because Hephaestus created a chair to immobilize, to imprison, to imprisoner, immobilize Hera, because Hera thought that he was ugly, and she thought that he couldn't be a god, a true god. And Festus answered with this chair that immobilized his mother. But a lot of other stories, for example, Hades, who took Persephone's and brought her in the underworld. This is really interesting. Therefore, there is no specific truth in the myth. And in particular, there is only an origin, after the chaos, after the situation of no order. This is interesting. In the situation of a specific type of God, there is a rational theology where people there is a theology in relation with a specific type of rationalism, where people want to understand uh, how to arrive near God in the sense of the what are that situation who God's explain to me. In fact, if we understand, and this is really interesting, first type of ancient Greek monotheism, this type of ancient Greek monotheism, in particular, it was produced by Plato and Aristotle. Plato with his god Demiurgo, and Aristotle with his god that is the pure act, thought of thought, that thought which moves everything. And Aristotle divided the two part of the system into the celestial part and the world part. The celestial part, the perfect part, that is moved from by the God, and the other part, the world part, that is in relation with the four elements. This is really interesting, and the four elements move themselves in a relation with on over, and the God move himself with with a circle. The sky, the celestial world, he moves himself with a circular movement, and this is really interesting. Yeah, the four element up and down, and the celestial world in the circular movement. And with this type of God, the Demiurgo, and the pure act in Aristotle, we understand that the philosophy creates the first type of philosophy was divided by the myth, by the classical myth in the ancient Greece. In fact, Plato and Aristotle talk about the main God that is also moral God. In fact, Plato, for example, in the Timaeus, in his dialogue where he speaks about the God, he speaks about this God that not only creates things, but also he is moral. And this is really interesting because it's not only a God that creates things, but it's all it's moreover a God that is moral, and this moral comprehends the main God who uh, uh, maintain the God, the good. Sorry, the good. Therefore, people can can change. In fact, in the philosophy of Plato, people can change in the underworld. They in relation with their life before the death, and in the underworld they can change the next soul in relation with. In fact, Plato, according to Plato, after the death there is a reincarnation. But it's really interesting because Plato and Aristotle were first type of philosophers, in particular the main philosophers, who divided the who explain the importance of philosophy as uh, as a an understanding of the God, or better, understanding that there is something that is the cause of the consequences, and the moral that is debated into the world. It's only a relationship with that cause, who is God. And this is interesting. In the modern age, Immanuel Kant in particular uh, represented these words, this philosophy into a laicism point of view. Therefore, in Kant, God in particular, it's sometimes criticized, but at the same time, Kant taught that we cannot speak about God because we cannot understand the noumenon. Therefore, the God. In fact, God is perfect and intelligible. Therefore, we cannot understand what is God. So, according to Kant, moral is only a demand of the man. Therefore, there is a imperative, a moral imperative that is really important in relation with men. And there is sort, according to Kant, a division between moral and God, but not because this division is necessary a fact, but because, according to Kant, we cannot know if God exists or not. Therefore, we have to explain our behavior in relation with a moral that can survive in relation with a specific type of imperative. Therefore, the moral cannot cannot follow a specific type of truth, but we have to understand a specific type of moral behavior with ourselves. And this is, in any case, interesting because with this type of point of view, we understand that in the ancient Greek society, there were some philosophers who explained a specific type of God, monotheism against polytheism, Plato and Aristotle. Then, in the end of the Roman Empire, arrived the Christianity, in particular. In the Middle Age, we understand that people, in particular monks, explained some possible logical demonstration about God, and this was a modality to understand what is philosophy. And, in particular, the monks applied this, and then in the modern age, for example, some philosopher with Kant. But in the modern age, there were also more problems because there was also the Protestantism that created a new type of philosophers, in particular Thomas Hobbes, that he didn't know that philosophy could support by the religion, because the religion, according to Hobbes, it was a cause of the bellum omnium contra omnes, the war against all against all, the war between all. But in the modern age, because there was the Protestantism and the wars of religion, this is therefore a cause that Hobbes explained that there is the sovereign, there is the king who have to control the Pope, who have to control the religion, and who have to have the main powers, total power into the king. But only with the modern age. Bye.